foggy night, shadows creeping slow, whispers in the wind, where Johnny go? Blood on the hay, pitchfork gleam, midnight moon, a witness to a scream, barn doors creaking, secrets kept tight. Old man Joe seen a deadly sight, no justice found, just a broken plow, crows peck the ground, dead man's vow. Murder in the meadow, lies thick as dust, promises shattered, betrayed by trust, chaos in the cornfields.
I'm here with Country Diggers. I'm finally wearing a long sleeve shirt. It has gotten cool here in the 60s, so it's time for long sleeve shirts, believe it or not. All right, but today I'm going to be, we're going to be talking about the Demon of Belfry. And I'll be reading from The Bloody Century, True Tales of Murder in 19th Century America by Robert Wilhelm. He also does murderbygaslight.com website, so stay tuned. The Demon of the Belfry. Theo Durant, superintendent of Sunday school at San Francisco Emmanuel Baptist Church, was seen entering the church with Blanche Lamont on April 3rd, 1895, the day she disappeared. Though several people had seen them together that day, Durant was not considered a suspect in her disappearance. But when Minnie Williams, another girl he had courted, was found murdered and mutilated in the church library, and the corpse of Blanche Lamont was found in the bell tower, the innocent Sunday school teacher was recast as the Demon of the Belfry. Dates: April 3rd, 1895, and April 12th, 1895. Location: San Francisco, California. Victims: Blanche Lamont and Minnie Williams. Cause of death: strangulation. Accused: Theodore Durant. 21-year-old Blanche Lamont moved to San Francisco from Montana in the fall of 1894 to study teaching. She moved in with her aunt in San Francisco's Mission District and began taking classes as a special student at the boys' high school. Blanche attended the Emmanuel Baptist Church near her home, and she belonged to the Young People's Christian Endeavor Society, which held weekly meetings and held a social every month. The leader of the Christian Endeavor was 23-year-old Theo Durant. He was also the superintendent of Sunday school at the Emmanuel Baptist Church and did maintenance work in the building. Theo lived with his parents and attended Cooper Medical College, studying to be a doctor. Intelligent, hardworking, and generous, Theo was highly regarded by everyone who knew him. Though at times he seemed romantically clumsy, Theo was never lacking in female company. He met Blanche Lamont at church, and they began spending time together. Theo was smitten, and less than 3 months after they met, he gave Blanche a ring and asked her to marry him. Blanche liked Theo, but thought he was joking and would not give him an answer. Later, when he dimmed the gaslight and tried to kiss her, she pushed him away. Blanche finally ended the relationship when she learned that Theo had been unofficially engaged to Flo Upton, another member of the Emmanuel Baptist Church, when he proposed to her. At the same time, he had been going out with 21-year-old Minnie Williams, a domestic servant who was also a member of the church. She had told her friends that Theo made improper advances when the two had been on a picnic alone in an isolated spot. Though many rebuffed him at the time, the incident was not serious enough to end their relationship. It was Theo who broke it off after he started seeing Blanche. On April 3rd, 1895, Theo and Blanche Lamont appeared to have reconciled. He met her at her school, and the two rode together on a cable car, laughing and talking intimately. They were seen by Blanche's schoolmates and by friends of Theo. Mrs. Caroline Leake, who lived near Emmanuel Baptist, saw Theo open the church door for Blanche to enter. It was the last time Blanche Lamont was seen alive. When Blanche did not return home that night, her aunt reported her missing, and a frantic search began throughout San Francisco. Theo Durant joined in the search and suggested that she might have been lured away to a Barbary Coast brothel. Okay. No one suspected that Theo himself might be involved in Blanche's disappearance. On Saturday, April 13th, 1895, the day before Easter, members of Emmanuel Baptist were preparing the church for Sunday service. Someone entered the library and discovered the mutilated body of a young woman lying across the threshold of the library closet. She had been strangled and stabbed, cut on the head and face, and her wrists slashed so deeply the hands were almost separated from the body. Cloth torn from her undergarments had been shoved down her throat and with a sharp stick. When police examined the body, they determined she had also been raped. At first, she was assumed to be Blanche Lamont, but a church member identified her as Minnie Williams. When the police learned of Minnie's connection to Theo Durant, he became their prime suspect in Minnie's murder and Blanche's disappearance. A thorough search of the building revealed another corpse in the church belfry. The contrast to Minnie's clothed but mangled body, this one was stark naked, with hands folded across her chest, so white and serene she looked like a marble statue. It was Blanche Lamont. She had been strangled and probably raped, then posed by her killer. The same day, Blanche's aunt received a strange package by mail. Inside, wrapped in a newspaper, were 3 rings that she recognized as belonging to Blanche. Police showed the rings to pawn shop dealers, one of whom had seen them before. A man fitting Theo Durant's description had tried to pawn them. At the time, Theo was on maneuvers with the Signal Corps of the California National Guard. Police arrested him and brought him back to San Francisco. He went peacefully, but strongly declared his innocence. Trial, July 22nd, 1895. Theo Durant was charged with both murders, but Blanche Lamont's case was tried first. She was the first to be murdered and was closely linked to Theo on the day of her disappearance. Like many sensational murders in the 1890s, the Durant case was dubbed the crime of the century, and the people of San Francisco took it to heart. The courtroom was filled to capacity throughout the trial. Women especially flocked to the courtroom for a glimpse of the handsome young killer. One young woman was nicknamed the Sweet Pea Girl because every morning she brought Theo a bouquet of sweet peas. He sometimes wore one on his lapel. The prosecution included police and medical testimony, as well as a parade of eyewitnesses who had seen Theo and Blanche together that day. For the duration of the trial, Blanche's torn dress was displayed on a dressmaker's dummy, an eerie presence, as if the dead girl herself were listening to the testimony. The defense was haphazard, pointing out the circumstantial nature of the evidence and implying that the murder could have just as easily have been done by someone else at the church. Even Pastor Reverend J. George Gibson, but it was Theo's testimony that probably linked the verdict. He parsed his sentences carefully and complained often of being misquoted, but ultimately his testimony was contradictory and misleading. The jury began their deliberation by taking 2 votes. Both were unanimous, guilty of murder to be punished by hanging. They reached their decision in 5 minutes, but thought it was too soon to return, so they finished their cigars first. Verdict: guilty of murder. Aftermath: Theo Durant was to be hanged on February 1896, but the appeals process kept him alive for nearly 2 more years. On January 7, 1898, he climbed the scaffold. Theo was given the opportunity to speak and began a long-winded ramble declaring his innocence. He showed no sign of stopping, but when he paused in his speech, the executioner took the opportunity to spring the trap. The demon of the Belfry was dead. And they also called him the Jack the Ripper of San Francisco. That's about the same time, wasn't it about the same time Jack the Ripper was alive, or was Jack the Ripper in 1880s? I can't remember, but anyway, they called him the Jack the Ripper of San Francisco too. But anyway, hope you enjoyed, and see you back soon.